Hello again. Hi. You know, our family used every excuse possible to come together in circles every few hours because children, all children, not just adopted children, and all of us humans, we need to retune ourselves to the values, the behavior, the energy of our family. And so we need to get together on a regular basis. So we just made up every excuse possible to have a circle. So I would just say that the first circle we had every single morning, partly because we enjoyed it so much and partly because it was so necessary and so healing. But every single morning we gathered, we huddled around the wood stove, because even in the summer, because we lived at 4,000 feet, it was cool. So we would all sit really close to each other, huddled together, and I would ask them to share their dreams. And this was called a dream circle. So I would just say, "What dream did you have last night? Tell me about it." They couldn't wait to share their dreams. And so sometimes we would just be laughing so hard we couldn't continue at the absurdity of a certain dream, just the total nonsensical energy of it. Like, why would you wake up knowing that you were a camel? Or would you have a dream where there were two different kinds of flowers coming out of each ear? What could that possibly mean? But we kind of didn't care because we were just laughing so much. And of course I would always ask the child to interpret their own dream, because that's the most important thing. But if they couldn't figure it out, they would often ask us. And then sometimes the dreams were just so poignant and so sad that all of us were crying. I remember one kid saying, "I have had a dream for 4 nights in a row where there is this man sitting at the kitchen table. And I can remember so much that I love him, but he's not recognizable. I don't know who he is. And why is he showing up at my kitchen table every morning?" And he couldn't figure it out. And finally said, "Mom, can you help me think what this means?" And I said, "Sure." I said, "Do you think that maybe when your father got so drunk, he actually changed energy-wise and physically, so you couldn't recognize him, but you remember that you love him?" And that brought such a flood of tears, not just from that kid, but from all of us who have had people who changed on us, and you don't know anymore if they're your ally or they're the person who could hurt you. So my husband was really good at helping people with their dreams, and he'd say, like, one of my sons dreamed that he had yelled at the whole family until we all got up and left and went out and stood in the snow with our bare feet. And my husband said, "Why were you yelling at them?" And he said, "Because they were all telling me that I was bad and didn't deserve love, and I was going to grow up and be a terrible father." And so my husband said, "Don't you get that for the first time in your life, you were so brave. You weren't a victim. You spoke the truth of your own goodness. And I'm so proud of you." So you get the idea of dream circles. And we would always kind of come to a close by me saying, "Tell me how you think your life's going to be different today because of that dream." Or, "How are you changing so that this dream is more direct or more honest than anything you've ever had before?" And the last part that it was one of my favorite parts, is some kids couldn't remember a dream. And so I would just ask them, please make up a dream. Because sometimes the dreams they actually had were too scary to remember. But when they made up a dream, and I didn't tell you, sometimes, and this is back to the beginning, sometimes kids had parts of each other's dreams. And sometimes kids had the answer to their siblings' dream in their dream. But when they made up dreams, it was so cool because very often those dreams that they thought were pretend were the most revealing, most important thing that they could have said to us that morning. So I'm not asking you to get up and have a circle around the wood stove every morning. But I do want to say to you, whether or not you were put through all sorts of trauma, whether or not you have children or a mate, have you thought about just in the morning writing down your dreams, or sitting at breakfast and sharing your dreams? Or, I get probably 10 to 15 texts every single morning with people writing their dreams to me, because humans are so social. We need somebody to receive us. We need somebody to hear us. And so I wish that you have people to share your dreams with. Not just your nighttime dreams, but your wildest dreams for your life.